Welcome to the Flex Forward podcast, where grit meets growth. With your host, Nick Espanet, bringing you stories of resilience, reinvention, and the real climb to success.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Flex Forward podcast. Today, we're joined by Nick Lamaison. Nick is a former college quarterback for University of Tennessee and UTEP here in Texas. He also is a founder of Lamaison Holdings, and he also has a couple of podcasts. I'll let him give a little more details in each of those. But Nick, thanks for joining us today. We're so glad to have you. Can you give a little more of a deeper dive into some of the things that you've done in the past and that you're currently doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually am a Southern California guy. I grew up in Southern California, single mother home, but always kind of was, really ambitious. And so I got into football. I went to junior college in Southern California, and then that gave me the opportunity to go to Tennessee. Lane Kiffin had picked me up, and Ed Ogeron actually was my recruiting coordinator.
Oh, wow.
He's a great guy. He's a very funny guy. I got so many stories about him. And then had a chance. I went over to Europe for a bit and played in Northern Germany. Was kind of my last stint athletically, and then kind of shifted gears, went into the corporate space for a while. Kind of realized that those environments were great for me to learn like best practices and really business 101. But then once I had kind of absorbed all of that, I was ready to kind of go become an entrepreneur, start building my own things. And I started with real estate, just rental properties. And that's how we put the holding company together. And I loved it so much that I was like, I got to get in this business as a on the sales side. And so we have the Lamaison Group now, where I myself am an agent. I hire agents into it. Kind of takes me back to my leadership skills and things like that. And then now I've also navigated kind of into the entertainment space. And I'm actually doing a podcast this Friday with two of my business partners related to like business, sports, music, pop culture, those types of things. And so so I'm just kind of, if I have a new idea and I think it's good and I think I can get it done, I'm not afraid to jump into it. So that's
awesome. And that's a great entrepreneurial mindset. It's just, hey, I see something and moving forward. You kind of see that it's a pencil drawing where it shows a miner digging and they stop right before the gold, or they won't try it. You've got that drive to just have the resilience to keep going. I was kind of picture the miner that just keeps digging to finally find the gold.
I really think that I've started to I have a growing relationship with pain and discomfort. I don't look at it as a negative thing. I look at it as that's the key. That's the way that's the bridge to where I get to my goals. Because I would say any successful person in the world has had to endure pain. They had to endure the doubts, or maybe even, getting negative feedback from other people, or people questioning their lifestyle because it's so adverse to what kind of conventional wisdom would share. And so I've really, especially in the last couple of years, I've just known, hey, when I'm in pain, mentally, and I'm doubting myself, and this is a hard thing that I'm continuously working on and maybe not seeing immediate results, that's a good thing. That's how you know that you're in the spot that you're supposed to be. And guess what? Good news is it's not going to be forever. You're eventually going to get to the other side of that, and you're going to be proud that you kind of endured through that process.
It's so well said, and that's what helps. That sets people apart. They don't wallow in that pain, and the men or women that can do that and move on are the ones that are successful. And that's, if a certain thing was really easy, everybody would do it and you wouldn't be able to make money. Now, not that making money is the end all be all, but you want to be rewarded for your risk and for that pain. And that's when I'm talking with people who are getting into something. I'm like, if it was easy, everybody would do it and it would be oversupplied. You would not be able to make a good income at it. But if it's hard and you're persistent or resilient through it, you're going to have success and you're going to be rewarded for it.
Yeah. And it's going to be so much more fulfilling. And I think you made a good point of like, it's not all about money. Some of the things that I'm involved in, they're good financial investments and things like that. But there's other things where I'm just staying cognizant of my own excitement as a person and as an individual. What do I like? What do I think about a lot? A couple of years ago, maybe like 5 to 10 years ago, I thought if I could create a perfect day or a perfect life, what would that look like? What would I do? What would my morning look like? What would, early on in the day, and how would that carry on? And so I just started thinking about that, and then try to just design my life with that in mind. And it's been pretty awesome so far.
That's great stuff. So in the podcast or real estate world and investment world, there's a lot of people competition out there. So what do you feel like sets you apart above other people that are doing the same thing?
I have a relentless work ethic. I am an obsessed type of person. When I have a goal that I want to get to, I think about it all day. I think about it all night. I dream about it. And then I think something that really helps me, and especially I'm associated with a lot of other entrepreneurs now, and young up and coming entrepreneurs that kind of need mentorship. For me, the key has always been I get my idea. If it's a good idea, I'm gonna get it to 80% and I'm putting it out. And I'm gonna let the world help me figure out what's that other 20% of refinement. And I think that's a little bit of my secret sauce, because everyone gets the whole paralysis by analysis. They
Sure.
overthink, and our human nature, wants to keep us away from dangerous situations, stressful things, all of that. And so you have to completely go against your God-given human nature, as you go through all of these things. And so I've just learned to, like I was talking about, go in that scenario, go through the pain, fight through it, but also speed to execution. It's like idea, put it out. Idea, put it out. And a lot of times I'll be working with folks and they're like, don't you think we need to spend some more time on this? And I'm like, no. The first time you start anything, there's going to be improvement. Doesn't matter if you spent 5 years working on your first episode or your first thing or whatever it may be. There's going to be areas that you need to improve upon. So stop waiting. Put it out 80%. Let the world help you with the other 20.
Yeah, and I've heard that 80%. If you get 80% right the first time, then you get 80% right the next time. I think that's 96% that you're hitting. So that's a pretty good ratio. So you just
Right.
got to
Yeah.
figure it out if you get started, because if you wait on every box to be checked exactly right, you're never. And I initially, early on, that was my challenge. It's just overanalyze, and finally I got a little more ready, fire, aim mindset. It's like we got to get going. If it's not exactly right, we're going to figure it out on the fly. And
Yeah. And it's the truth of the matter is, like, we've got nothing to lose. We've got nothing to lose. And we have everything to gain. And another thing that I say, and these are all kind of cliche. We can get more into like detailed stuff, but like I always say to people, like, when you're 80, 90 years old, you don't want to have any regrets. Time's going to look a lot different at that point in time, and that's okay. You got to love the evolution of life. But when I get to that point, I want it to be more my contribution to everyone else, me helping develop everybody else, and grow things for the future and going forward. But having the comfort of knowing, hey, when my time was here and I had the energy and the mindset and maybe the money, I did everything that I could, and now
awesome.
now I feel really good about that.
That's awesome. Do you find that there's maybe one or two things that come easy to you that others might find challenging?
I'm a really creative person. I can come up with ideas every single day. Not all of them are going to be great, so I always have to self-filter for myself. And then I'm very disciplined, and so I can stay committed to a regiment. And I understand, like, one of my business partners said a great quote yesterday to me. He said, we put in paper thin efforts every day, and then pretty soon we have a whole dictionary. And so I've focused really on that. I've really focused on just being proud and excited and happy with my effort, and not the results that come from my effort, because it's a little bit out of my control sometimes what the results are or how quickly something comes. And so I've really just gotten into the habit of I'm happy with effort that has not yielded a result yet.
Yeah, and having that joy in life goes a long way. Even through challenging times, having some joy. I mean, you're gonna be sad maybe, but there's still finding some joy within what's going on. Kind of can lift you up.
I think you're absolutely right. I always tell people another thing that I'm really good at is keeping my morale high. And I understood that back when I was, I used to be operations manager for a couple different companies and director of operations. And it was like any objective that we were taking on was going to take forever. And that's true for everybody. And so the longer you're in that thing and the longer you're focusing on it, the better you're going to build it, the better you're going to have a chance to be successful. But the longevity of that situation is really contingent upon your morale. And so I'll try to do different things, even if it's like in the gym. I will, if I'm feeling a little worn down, not as excited, I don't have that vigor, I will go buy a new outfit or buy new shoes or change my gym, or go do a gym class, and it's not just, related to the gym. I do that with everything. If I'm just feeling stagnant
Mix it up a little bit.
and I read like just boost it, how can I get myself excited? Because then I know, okay, sweet, I just got myself 6 more months of work. And now I can continue to kind of drive this thing forward.
Nice. Yeah, that's some great advice. Shake it up a little bit when you're starting to feel stagnant. And that probably goes all the way back to your sports days. Being the quarterback, right. You're definitely the offensive leader, but a lot of times the quarterback is kind of asked the team captain to get everybody motivated. Even if your team's not doing well, that's when you really need to get everybody motivated, when you're behind on the scoreboard or starting to move in the wrong direction. So you've probably skills that you've used for a very long time.
I would do a thing where, like, say we had a big game coming up. A lot of times I would excuse the coaches, or I'd ask if I can excuse the coaches and say, hey, can I have a players only meeting? And a couple of us leaders, maybe a big, defensive leader, myself, would get up there and we could speak in a way that was a little bit different than our coaches probably. Mm-hmm. We could speak eye to eye to our guys. We're the same age. We live the same lives. We hang out together. We do all the same stuff. And so that's where I would really kind of be pretty frank with the guys and just say, hey, here's what's at stake. Here's what's going on. And yeah, usually it got a pretty good result, but it woke us up. So that way, if, when I was in junior college, we were a really successful team. We were literally crushing every team by like 30, 40 points.
Oh, nice.
But then we'd have a big game and it's like, I don't want us to get lulled to sleep because, we were playing, hey, maybe some of the not as talented teams. And now we've really got to be on our A game and kind of rise to the occasion. And I didn't want us to rise to the occasion on Saturday. I wanted us to rise to the occasion on Monday, right. Tuesday, Wednesday, walk through all that stuff.
You play like you practice. I'm trying to think of that.
Exactly.
You got to be all out. Well, good stuff. So if someone's listening and wants to get better at, motivating your team or communicating with your team, what's something you would suggest that they could do?
If you want to get better at motivating your team, you gotta back up what you say. You always gotta, if you say something or you want to drive a new initiative. I've had a lot of leaders in my time where, they'd say this, they'd say that, and then it's like, okay, hey, where's the follow through on any of this? And then also too, something I do is I require a lot out of everyone. I hold everyone to the same standard I hold myself to, but I'm also a kind person as well. At the same time, I can be compassionate. I can be understanding. I can put myself in the shoes of someone else. And I think when I'm asking a lot of people too, I've got to be able to have the dual side of like, hey, I still got your back, or like I got on you there, but here's why. It's like my high school coach used to always, if he got on me, he would just say, it's because I know your potential. I know what you can do. I know what you're capable of. So I think, leading teams, driving results, ask for a lot, hold a really high standard. That's something I learned a lot from like Nick Saban, and just the way he ran his programs for years. But also connect with the people one-on-one, because if people like you one-on-one, person to person, they'll do everything they can. They'll give all the talent and ability that they can. And so it's kind of that ebb and flow of gold standard, but also, hey, we're people here. We're still humans. Money's not the most important thing. Relationships and fulfillment in life are. And so like putting that in full scope, I think you can really drive really good results in a team.
That's awesome. Great stuff. So what is one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome in your career path to where you are now?
I would say there was a lot of unlearning I had to do, just from childhood and conventional wisdom and differing mindsets. Something that plagues me is someone would look at me like I've got this ironclad mindset. Um, I still hear all the negative comments and things in my head, and oh, you can't do this, or Nick, why are you focusing on so many things? Why are you always coming up with new ideas? You're kind of fly by night type of mentality. And so that's a challenge for me, but I've I've learned to not listen to my own brain when I know it's not a healthy thing, and kind of let those things out. So I would say I still hear things from childhood, or even athletics growing up, or even that stuff sticks with me, and I hate that it does, but I've kind of learned to like not listen to my brain. Here's something I'll say that I do that's helpful with the thoughts, because I think if you could become a master of your mind, I don't treat my thoughts anymore like they're mine. They're not mine. I'm an observer of all of my thoughts, and
Yeah.
it's my choice to choose which thoughts are going to serve me best for my life purpose and my goal. And so I almost like visualize that my head is a subway coming by. And so the subway comes by, and I get to choose if I want to board that subway
Yeah.
or not. And
Nice.
so if I have a thought in my mind that's not feeding me, not a good thing, I just let that go on by. And I do that like visualization in my head. Literally, I see a subway go by, and then not always immediately, but then I can kind of come clear, that thought's gone, and now I've kind of set the pathway for good things coming forward, positivity.
That's a great visualization, just to let it kind of pass. Having that visual processing, I think, really helps a lot. Well, good
Yeah.
stuff. So it sounds like things are going pretty well with your business. A lot of people, as they start having more success, start thinking about ways to get involved with passive income, either to supplement their current income or maybe eventually replace it. What are your thoughts on utilizing passive income?
Yeah. I'm the way I look at passive income. I never looked at it as I got to go for that first. I always kind of had this mentality. I'm going to go all in on one thing, and I'm going to build that up the best that I can, create the most value, the most resources with that, and then I could diversify from that standpoint. So that's kind of my mentality, where I've acquired a lot of real estate. Our sales business is going well, and now it's time to kind of exact some of those profits. And my vision has always been, I'm going to build up a ton of value, a ton of capital, and then I'm going to put it into something really safe, something really that I don't have to focus on a lot. Maybe like S&P 500 or bonds, or something where I could just park my money. I get a really high interest return, but all contingent upon that tremendous level of effort that I gave. And so I think what I learned, the conventional wisdom, was diversify from the very beginning. And I realized, hey, that's going to make me grow so slow that compound interest is going to take a really long time to take place. And so let me go all in. Like, I went all in on athletics. I went all in on real estate. And then I created tremendous value. And then it kind of let me diversify from there. And when you've got capital, it's usually pretty easy to find safe and easy passive investments. So I'm a real estate guy, but it's funny. Like, when I think about my passive life going forward, and I'm still not even there, I definitely think about going, just the historical. I also like to park my money in historical successful vehicles.
Successful
So
thing,
like
yeah.
S&P 500, just the history of it. Yes, it goes down. Yes, it goes up. All these crazy things happen. You get a ton of news
Go for the long
articles.
term. Yeah.
But zoom out. It's the same thing with real estate. Zoom out. You're going to hear all these different opinions, and everybody's guessing. No one knows what the interest rates are going to be. So it's like, it's a guess. And so I'm just going to place my things with, what historically has been successful.
Good stuff. Yeah, and that's awesome. Diversification's good, but it's also slower, I think, because if you can find something like you said, real estate that works, you can accelerate and ride it up. And then, to me, when I'm older is when I want to be in that more diversified. Just let it cruise.
Absolutely. I have a mindset of knowing, hey, I'm in my 30s now. I got tons of energy. I want to do this. That's not forever. That's not my mentality forever. Life's going to take a slower pace. I'm not going to be interested in going and building that or doing this. And so I also believe in a situation of take advantage of the time that you're in right now, knowing that you're going to evolve into different yous as you go on. And so make your decisions accordingly.
Awesome. Great stuff. So as we're wrapping up the interview, do you have any exciting plans or initiatives in the next 6-12 months or so?
Yeah. So I brought on a guy named Casey Mayer into my real estate sales business, and I'm really excited about him. I think he's just he's got all the intangibles that I look for, and now he's going to kind of serve as my business partner, and then we're going to kind of go more into the hiring, recruiting, and scaling our business. We've got to refine some of the processes and SOPs and things like that. But I really realize now, it's no brainer with me being a quarterback, but I love building teams and big, high level teams. So that's one focus. And then launching our podcast this Friday. He's not on that, but that's another part for me where my life is so variable. I've been involved in so many elements and I have so many different interests. And I think more than anything, I just have insightful perspective that I've gained over the years. And so I'm really looking forward to the podcast. It's going to be called Victory Lap. It'll be on Spotify and the other, awesome. Areas that you put those podcasts, but it's going to be kind of a lot of different pop culture stories. But what I'm really using as a vessel of is I want to just put my mindset continuously out there. I just want to be able to speak to people in whatever their focus is. If they like music, if they like this or they like that, I'll end it with this. I realized as a kid, I constantly self-developed myself. And I wanted to help self-develop my family around me. And that was what then I was the youngest in my family. And I would always say, hey, this is what I'm doing in the gym. This is what I'm doing in business. This is what's helping me mindset wise. And I never really received the receptiveness that I was so eager to get.
Okay.
And so what I decided to do, subconsciously, I realize it now, is I just said, hey, let me go help everyone else in the world. And let me see who else is receptive. And as I went out into the world, I've just noticed there's a lot of people, especially young men I connect with, that are eager. They want to be successful. They want to do the right things, and they just need the knowledge, and they just need a little bit of someone who's been through it and been there and who can speak to it. And so I want to try to help as many people as I can, from a health standpoint, from a business standpoint, and then just from an overall life and enjoyment and success standpoint. So that's really, I've figured out my purpose in life is to be the pioneer, go into the brush with the machete, figure out the path, and then instead of sit on top of the castle at the end of the path, I want to go get a bunch of people and help them make it through the path as well. So
that's awesome. Exciting stuff. So everybody, there was Victory Lap podcast starting. Well, it'll probably, by the time this comes out, it's going to have already started. So you guys be sure and look it up and go and check out his podcast. So Nick, thank you so much for your time today and sharing a lot of great, useful tips and information. If any of our listeners would like to connect or find out more about what you do, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I think the best way would be to add me on LinkedIn and just through my name, Nick Lamaison. Let's start a conversation. I'm a really down-to-earth guy. I've been involved in things that, I've been successful, but I will always be like the young, humble kid that I grew up as. So happy to connect with anyone, share any insight that could be helpful.
Great stuff, Nick. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for listening. Be sure to keep tuning in. Take care.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Flex Forward podcast. If you've got grit, growth, and a great story, visit flexforwardpodcast.com/guest to apply and join us on the show.